So thank you everyone for joining us. As Kevin said, it has been a really long time since we've gotten together. And so I'm excited to see everybody here again. And I'm excited to have Coral with us. 2 weeks ago, I attended his presentation at Lev. We both worked together at Lev, and he did this presentation for all of his coworkers, and I was blown away and said, this is one of the best presentations I've ever seen, and asked if he would share it with us. So I'm very excited to have you, Coral, so you can do a quick introduction and take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for inviting me, and hello all. Welcome to Distributed Marketing 101. I'm your presenter, Coral Fowler, the Senior Solutions Architect at Lev, a premier Salesforce consultancy, for those that don't know. I've been working in Marketing Cloud for near a decade now, where I've had the privilege of working on quite a few large-scale enterprise accounts. I really enjoy exploring new features and capabilities, and through my experience implementing distributed marketing, I've prepared this presentation for you. I do apologize in advance. It is a little text heavy, but I would like to caption this and say that this is a living interpretation of the Salesforce documentation. The main purpose is to familiarize you with distributed marketing and to assist you through your first distributed marketing implementation. I am open to any questions as long as I can answer them within the flow of the presentation. So if your question may require a lengthier response, please save it to the end. Here's what you can expect to learn. First and foremost, what is distributed marketing? How to actually configure distributed marketing in CRM as well as Marketing Cloud. I'm going to do an introduction to distributed marketing custom content blocks. By the end of this, you will be aware of how to set up a distributed marketing journey, as well as ensuring that you enable those distributed marketing journeys as quick sends within CRM. So what is distributed marketing? It is designed for businesses that sell and market through large partner networks. Think of franchisees, financial advisors, insurance agents, or resellers. It's a challenge to deliver those seamless consumer engagements at scale, and distributed marketing enables companies to deliver consistent experiences across corporate marketing and partner networks. So think of distributed marketing like a bridge that connects and combines your customer data from the cloud the end user works in most often, whether that be sales, service, financial services, or community, with the branded messages that the corporate marketing team creates in Marketing Cloud. Distributed marketing gives you the ability to send customized versions of those messages to your customers through campaigns or directly from contact or lead records. So in summary, distributed marketing enhances sales, service, financial services, or community cloud with Marketing Cloud journeys. The power really lies within the possibilities created by connecting Journey Builder to the cloud where our end users conduct their day-to-day operations. Marketers can design experiences that will not only send a message from a journey, but could also contain other activities that update values in CRM or Marketing Cloud. Salesforce tasks, segmentation, and even subsequent automations are all possibilities. So distributed marketing solves for situations where corporate touchpoints simply exist outside of the marketing department. Distributed marketing components allow distributed marketing users to initiate a Marketing Cloud message from their respective clouds. Here, you see an example of a quick send to a single contact lead or person account in CRM. This modal actually pops up when the end user selects the desired quick send and allows the end user to preview the email within their respective cloud. By clicking the small pencil icon, the end user is actually able to edit the distributed marketing blocks that are contained in the email that the corporate marketing team has already set up for them. All right, diving into the prerequisites. First and foremost, you will need Marketing Cloud with Journey Builder enabled. In addition, you will need a supported CRM with access to the appropriate objects and features. And I will reiterate, that can be Sales Cloud, Service, Experience, or other community clouds. Salesforce Connect does come with distributed marketing, and that one license that comes for Salesforce Connect is used exclusively by the distributed marketing application. So when you do acquire distributed marketing, Salesforce Connect is provisioned for you as well. Marketing Cloud Connect, while this is not a prerequisite of distributed marketing, please note that this is actually a prerequisite to see engagement metrics in CRM. Mobile Connect, this product is used so users actually have the ability to send SMS through distributed marketing. I would then like to go on to highlight that you will need a SSL cert for image domains. A distributed marketing image block actually supports HTTPS images exclusively. The next thing of note, and one of the most important prerequisites to highlight, is you will need a dedicated system user. The reason being is distributed marketing uses an authenticated Marketing Cloud system user to make the Marketing Cloud content accessible and sendable from the CRM experience. So please make sure to review the requirements for the Marketing Cloud system user in the documentation. Of note, that user will need access to Content Builder, email subscribers, and be registered or enabled as a dedicated API user. The last prerequisite to call out is to ensure that you review the requirements for the authenticating user in CRM. The deck does link out to the appropriate documentation. And after you've made it through the actual prerequisites, it is time to begin our install. And to begin our install, you'll begin by logging out of all active Marketing Cloud sessions. That is important. And next step is to actually ensure that you select the role or user profile for the managed package which you'd like to install this. I'll call that out as a very critical step, because when you're moving through this, you have the ability to restrict content to where it will only be visible for licensed users. And in order to set that up, you do need to ensure that you select install for admins only or install for specific profiles. In order to complete your install, as mentioned, ensure you're signed out of Marketing Cloud, signed in to the Salesforce org that we are configuring, and you're going to paste the URL that's shown on screen. It's also contained in the documentation. This URL is the managed package. And after you navigate to this URL, you'll be shown the screen. You can actually see the screenshots over here to the right. I just mentioned that you have the ability to install for all users, but you would, in most situations, defer to installing for admins only or for specific profiles. And the reason being is because it does restrict that distributed marketing content to licensed users.
Coral, we have a quick question. When you said that you need an additional user, can that be the Marketing Cloud Connect user, or do you need two system users?
You'll need one Marketing Cloud Connect user created on the Marketing Cloud side. And within CRM, you will also need a user to which you plan to use as your integrated user. So it's two users, one for each platform.
Perfect, thank you. Axel, is that clear?
Okay.
Thank you.
The next thing to point out is that after you install your managed package, what comes with it is the two apps. One being dedicated to distributed marketing administration and the other being distributed marketing settings. Users with the correct permission sets will actually have access to these. I'd like to point out this is an opportunity to involve the Salesforce admin or any core resources that you may have on your team to consult with best practices for actually installing the package in the org. Moving on to permissions, it's important that in discovery, you identify who will be the distributed marketing admins, as well as who will serve as the distributed marketing end users. Keep in mind that they do consume two different license types. You can assign permissions by navigating to permission sets in CRM and managing permission sets there, or via setup, editing the desired user directly. The existing org's Salesforce security model for business units, campaigns, and users really can all dictate content sharing. So proactive conversations with the Salesforce admin and or core architect can really improve the end user in accordance with the organization's desired security practices. Diving into the actual permissions that you will need to assign, it's actually 4 permissions that are let me take a step back. When you install distributed marketing, there are actually 6 or 7 permissions sets that become available to you. We are highlighting the 4 that are critical to utilizing the application. What you see here is ultimately just an outline of them. It can be a bit confusing, so I will stress that an administrator will need not only the administrator custom permission, but we'll also need the license assigned to them as well. So the note for a DM administrator is that with both that permission set and the license assigned, it will grant access to distributed marketing administration page. So the application I mentioned earlier, and really all other administrative distributed marketing functionality. From standard users or the end users we have scoped, you'll want to assign them a standard custom permission as well as the standard license. The coupling of both of these will actually grant users the ability to utilize the standard distributed marketing functionality and give them access to settings where appropriate. All right, this is where, as a marketing cloud architect, the work begins. You begin interacting with distributed marketing content by actually configuring distributed marketing blocks in your account. So you'll now switch back over to Marketing Cloud and navigate to Setup. Underneath Apps, you have the ability to create new install packages, and you'll want to name it something you're familiar with, maybe along the lines of distributed marketing, and then add a component. You will be setting up a custom content block. And on the next screen, you're actually given the ability to add a name, a description, and an endpoint URL. Of note, you will need to be a Marketing Cloud administrator for this particular configuration. And here are the 4 components that we will actually need to install in a rinse and repeat fashion of the previous slide or steps that I have outlined. These 4 components are ultimately associated with the custom distributed marketing content blocks you will be enabling in your account. So on the screen where you have the option to enter the name, the endpoint URL, the URLs listed here are the endpoints necessary to set up each component. I stress that we should refer to the documentation to ensure that these are the most recent URLs published. As a pro tip for navigating the documentation, it is worth explaining that in the Salesforce docs, they provide URLs for these particular blocks, and you will need to click through that URL to view the endpoint that you see here. Now, you've configured your 4 content blocks. It's now time to grant users access to those blocks. And it's relatively simple. You're just going to navigate back to Setup, the install package you just created, and then there's a tab titled Access. After clicking on that tab, the next screen, you'll see a checklist where you'll be able to select the desired users. You do have the ability to grant access to all users or just the users of your choice. And now, we've talked through installing and configuring these content blocks, provisioning access. What are distributed marketing content blocks? In summary, it is the personalization that's enabled by marketing users with custom content blocks in Content Builder. Marketing Cloud users register these blocks within their Marketing Cloud accounts and then drag and drop them onto email content to create those desired areas of collaboration for the end users. You can see in our screenshot right here, after properly configuring your distributed marketing blocks, they will be available in Content Builder to users who do have the requisite access underneath the Custom tab. And our first block that we're going to dive into in further detail is the distributed image block. This gives business users the ability to pick the image that's used in messages from a collection of images that you define. Some important things to know is that it supports only HTTPS images, so you will need the SSL cert for image domains. Images in this particular image block default to scale to fit, and they're centered in the block area. Known issue here is that Outlook actually doesn't respect that scale to fit and displays the image's true dimensions. The first image in the block is the default image, which is used when the business user doesn't specify an image. And last but not least, users who provide a custom image via a URL can define a custom redirect link. And what you see here is an actual example of a distributed marketing image block in practice in CRM. So the screenshot over here to the left actually just showcases what it looks like. These are all image blocks, all three of these. And when the end user clicks on any one of these images, a drop down does appear. This drop down appears if you've created an image library. So as you can see, you can predefine which images that end user has the ability to select from. You also have the ability, or the end user also has the ability to use a URL directly or to upload an image from their machine. You can disable this and only allow the end user to work within the options you've configured. The next distributed marketing custom content block, to go into further detail about, is the plain text block. This one allows business users to just enter their own text into the message. The user does not have any formatting options. The formatting coded in Marketing Cloud emails actually control the end formatting. Of note, the end user can type whatever they would like in this box. It is a free form input. You do have the ability to later build out a Salesforce workflow and approval process to where if you are utilizing this particular component, the end user's text can actually be reviewed. The next type of block to point out is the distributed rich text block. And there's not a lot of differences between the plain text block and the rich text block, but the primary difference is that you can see in our example that I have highlighted here is that I copied some text and the formatting is actually applied in the final version that renders. The reason being is that the rich text block allows business users to apply limited formatting, whether that's bold, italics, underline, left align, center. They can even embed hyperlinks, but they do not have the ability to switch fonts. Our last, but not least, distributed marketing content block is known as the multivariate block. This one gives business users the ability to select content from a pick list that you define. You also define a variable and up to 12 different options for the variable. Then you use that variable in your email, whether as a V function to output results or in more complex ways to render content. Multivariate blocks do need to be placed at the top of the email, even before the AMP script. That is a major caveat and one to point out is as you're developing your distributed marketing emails for your end users, if you do plan to use the multivariate block, place it at the top of your email. The three other blocks that I just finished explaining can be placed in the email where you want the desired content to render. The reason the multivariate blocks are so different is, as I stressed, you have the ability to define a variable and give your end user a pick list. There's a few different options or examples that I can think of to help familiarize you with use cases for multivariate blocks. One could be providing various subject line options for your end users. Another could be dictating or changing language. You even have the ability to set this up in a manner to where you could control tone. You would do that by staging multiple versions of the content, and with the different versions, you can provide really some flexibility with regards to a formal version, a brief version, or even a friendly version for your end users. There is a limitation that you should be aware of, and that comes down to the drop down that you see here that the end user has the ability to select from. That drop down actually has an 80 character limit for multivariate blocks. You can see this as a limitation, especially where a requirement that we dealt with, where the desired content is longer than 80 characters. In order to solve for that, we developed and implemented a solution that utilizes AMP script, where we call a content depending on the end user's selection. This process of evaluating a user's selection stored in the variable unlocked endless possibilities for email personalization. This actually allowed our end users to choose the entire body copy and even dictate which feature blocks they wanted to show to the end user. So I really stress that the multivariate block is inherently powerful due to the ability to actually store results as a variable. All right, there's a few things left to actually complete the configuration of distributed marketing, and I do recap all of this at the end with the checklist. So you've installed your distributed marketing content blocks. We still need to actually set up our sender profile. And in order to set up our sender profile, the recommendation for distributed marketing is to use a dynamic send from name and a dynamic send from email. This will ensure that as your end users are utilizing quick sends or campaign sends, these are sending mechanisms within distributed marketing, as those end users are going to use that, when they go to send the email can dynamically generate the appropriate sender details. There is a very specific data extension template that should be followed. All the fields are specified within the documentation. A link is actually here on the slide. You'll just navigate to Marketing Cloud, click Contact Builder, click Data Extensions, and create the data extension in your desired folder structure. One of the recommendations, if you are enabling this for clients, is to actually create a templated distributed marketing data extension. This is very important because it is recommended to have a unique journey entry data extension for each distributed marketing journey. This will prevent distributed marketing contacts being injected in the journey and potentially being sent a different quick send than one that was specified by the end user. And now we're on to the journey canvas. It's really time to bring everything together. This would be assuming that we have created a distributed marketing eligible email. But one thing to point out is that just because we're creating a distributed marketing journey or a quick send for our end users, they do not necessarily need to contain distributed marketing blocks. You can operationalize static emails or even the standard emails being used in Marketing Cloud today, add them to a distributed marketing journey as long as it's configured correctly, and the end user will be able to send against it. They just won't be able to edit it using the pencil icon. In order to configure a distributed marketing journey, one should focus on the actual API entry event. You do need to set up an API event connected to the distributed marketing data extension we created in the previous slide. You're going to configure the entry source with the unique event data extension. And from there, you'll actually drag and drop your journey activities onto the canvas. Ensure that you configure your email send activity with the sender profile that you created for distributed marketing. And I would want to call out one last nuance with regards to journey setup. If you are setting up a distributed marketing quick send journey, it cannot be set to no reentry. If you set the journey to no reentry, it will not be eligible to activate in CRM. And we will actually talk about enabling journeys very shortly in CRM. So we're going to switch back to CRM at this point. And after navigating back to CRM, we need to then, via our app switcher, we actually can type in distributed marketing administration. When you type in distributed marketing administration in the app switcher, it will redirect you to a screen as you see here. The left-hand panel will allow you to choose between the different administration options. What I would like to highlight here is that you have the ability to connect up to 200 business units. So for large marketing cloud accounts, we may be in a position to where we are connecting multiple business units to one Salesforce org and ultimately allowing our end users to use campaigns from across these different business units. I will stress that the recommendation is to have a user per business unit. The reason being is how distributed marketing works. It does actually show that content through the authenticated, or makes the content available through the authenticated user. So the biggest note is as you go to add additional business units, it is best practice or recommended that you create an additional user in Marketing Cloud per business unit. Okay, the distributed marketing business unit setup is also relatively straightforward. You'll choose a display name. You will need your integration user. Sorry about that there. Go back a slide. You will need your the username for your integration user. And after that, you'll click next and the records will be generated for you. The next thing of note is how to actually enable a quick send. So I've walked you through essentially enabling distributed marketing, configuring it within the account. You've created custom blocks. You've created emails, whether they contain distributed marketing content or not. You've added them to a distributed marketing journey with a distributed marketing API entry event. And now, if you follow the documentation and specifications, you will see the journeys you have created is eligible underneath available journeys. And you may notice that some, even if they don't have that DM content, will also populate on the list. If you are expecting to see a journey and you do not, one of the first things to check is actually the journey entry settings and confirming that the record is actually set to re-entry after exiting, or re-entry anytime for that matter. And as mentioned, this is also in the distributed marketing administration section. You're able to easily find that from the app launcher within CRM. You're going to navigate to Quick Send, and you simply click on the journey of your choice, and you'll be able to add or remove the journey accordingly. Okay. Now that we have configured, we've created, and now we've enabled, what can our end user do? Diving into that, it is the distributed marketing quick sends or distributed marketing campaign sends. Those are the actual mechanisms to which end users will be able to leverage this distributed marketing content. Quick sends allow users to send a single personalized message to a contact, lead, or person account from different contexts. You're able to send to up to 75 individuals at a time from a list view. You can quick send to a list view. There's also bulk sends. Up to 25,000 individuals at a time from the quick send message record. And quick send messages are like opening an email inbox and typing an email, or opening your messaging app and sending a text. The difference is that quick send messages are more powerful because every send has the power of journey builder behind it. Elaborating on that, a quick send message is a simple one-touch journey. So you've created a distributed marketing journey with one touch, one email or one SMS. This is going to allow the end user to quickly pull up that message when they're viewing it on a on a contact record, select it from a dropdown and edit it accordingly. There are two types of quick send workflows. This chart that you see here actually highlights the audience first quick send workflows. The different types are send from contact, lead, or person account, the ability to send from list views. You also have the ability to send from cases or even send from opportunities. This is just a screenshot, an example with my test record, showing you what the quick send component looks like in CRM when it has been added to a record for the end user. They have the ability to click right here in this drop down and select any of the journeys that you have made available to them. In order to install this DM distributed marketing Lightning Quick Send component, you're going to navigate to Lightning App Builder in the quick find box, and from there you modify an existing page, the page that the end users are actually using, and this might be an opportunity to consult with the Salesforce admin. You're going to want to actually search for a component labeled MCDM Quick Send Messages, and you will just drag and drop that component directly onto the CRM page that you're editing in Lightning App Builder. After that, you activate the page, and it should be available to you to where you are able to view that component directly on a contact record. After you click the Quick Send email, this is the screen that pops up. This is an example of that distributed marketing email. The purpose of distributed marketing is to allow that end user to preview what they are about to send, and they have the ability to further edit the content. All right. Last but not least would be diving into reporting. I would like to point out that all tracking data is collected through Marketing Cloud Connect. If we are utilizing contact or lead ID, then that engagement data will flow back to Salesforce accordingly. The individual email results object can be added to a page layout or just inspected for further detail. Depending on your org settings, tracking data more or less can be set to synchronize hourly. Now, as a check and balance, you also have the ability to follow up on reporting directly in Marketing Cloud. So there are two sources that I found extremely helpful when troubleshooting and developing distributed marketing content. That was the actual distributed marketing data extension, as well as the Salesforce Marketing Cloud email tracking. As you can see here in my screenshot with our test records, you can see ultimately that it will inject a Salesforce Quick Send ID. That's a unique value associated with your Quick Send. Also, it injects send from names, send from emails. It will also inject the running user's Salesforce user ID. I specifically call out Salesforce user ID because we use that value to dynamically render content or values that were specific to the running user. So you may run into requirements to where you need to dynamically populate content depending on who is actually viewing the quick send within CRM. And as mentioned, as a check and balance, you have the ability to view the data extension immediately after triggering the quick send, and the record should be available in near real time. And another recommendation could be to add a insert timestamp, as that will help you with your investigation to notate when a record was injected in said DE. You can navigate to email tracking underneath Journey Builder Sends. So distributed marketing does not hide them in a different folder. It does leverage that top level Journey Builder Sends folder in email tracking, and an associated job will be printed with engagement metrics on how many are completed, how many queued, and how many are errored. So I've said a mouthful. I'd like to recap with the install checklist. Starting from the beginning, you install the distributed marketing managed package via that URL. Ensure you're logged out of Marketing Cloud and signed into the Salesforce org you plan to install distributed marketing in. Ensure that you install for admins only or specific profiles if you would like to restrict distributed marketing features. Configure users with the correct permission sets. Clients' teams can also be asked to help out with this particular task. You'd like to install your custom content blocks. From there, you're going to create your distributed marketing entry data extension. You'll develop a distributed marketing journey with an API entry event using that very same data extension. You're going to add the appropriate business units in the platform. We're going to update the campaign lightning page with campaign messages lightning component and or the quick send component that was covered in today's presentation. And the last step is simply to enable the journeys as quick sends in distributed marketing administration for your end users. Here's some additional resources, links out to the documentation. There's a trail to help you get started with distributed marketing and a module just dedicated to distributed marketing administration. I would like to stress that this is scratching the surface of distributed marketing content. This presentation is to help you with your first distributed marketing implementation and to familiarize you with distributed marketing send mechanisms, especially the quick send, as that is the lowest level of effort to install and ultimately get a visible win for you and the client. So thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Coral. Kevin, I know you have some questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Coral. I've recently worked with my team on implementing distributed marketing, and you really covered on some nuanced processes for sure. So I think that will definitely benefit anyone here who is looking to do the same. One of my questions was around campaign messages and bulk send. I know that we didn't really cover that on the call here, and I was wondering, have you deployed to campaign members more than once in the same campaign? Maybe, use case would be like segmenting an audience for a monthly newsletter, making it easy for the consumer or the stakeholder to, have a campaign that, maybe houses physicians in a specific region and using that campaign to send, a custom message to those same members month over month.
I understand the use case. I unfortunately have not had a chance to implement that. Recently, a change order has been signed to where we will actually be building out mechanisms for campaign messages. I do have a follow-up training, Distributed Marketing 102, that actually dives into the nuances of campaign messages, as well as even setting up a content marketplace and really sending against those list views. So Distributed Marketing 101 was aimed a little bit more towards quick sends than those, but I'm always open to a follow-up, and me and you could definitely have a breakout discussion, just some of the intricacies around campaign messages.
Yeah, I don't know if that is, open to this group or if it's something that you'll be interested in the future, but I would love to see something like that as well, and happy to connect too on kind of what I've experienced so far with campaign messages.
Well, you bring up a great point about nuances and gotchas. So I can share some very helpful nuggets with the group. I think it would be worth mentioning. The first is actually a business process with regards to updating your content in distributed marketing journeys. Okay, if you publish an update to content in a journey, you do have the ability to switch that content out while a journey is active. What we have found in distributed marketing is that the content can unfortunately become cached in a way to where the preview within Sales Cloud will show the updated content, but when you actually go to send the email, Marketing Cloud may actually render what is cached. So as a business process, whenever you are updating content within a journey, the recommendation is to create a net new version. We have experienced difficulties in the past with regards to, as they call it, a hot content swap for an active journey. So I think that is one of the biggest nuances and gotchas, just as a best practice. When you are switching content, please ensure you create a new version of that journey and then activate that new version. Maybe another nuance or gotcha from setting up distributed marketing journeys is that dynamic variables will not show on the distributed marketing edit quick send screen. So it is a best practice to include fallback content with regards to improving your end user's experience.
A quick question on the cached versioning there. One thing, whenever I'm going through and modifying a message to send, whether it's through quick send or bulk send, and I actually type in the like a rich text field, I could see my text in the rich text field. However, on the display, the preview, the text actually is blank. I mean, well, the text is there. It's just, it doesn't show up. And so you can't preview it, but if you send it, it will display the text that you input. Have you run into that issue?
You're using a rich text block?
Yes.
It should be. So technically, as the end user cycles between the pencil icon to edit and the eyeball icon to preview, technically the content that was configured on the edit screen should render underneath the eyeball. So for us, when testing the rich text block, wherever it was placed, when we inserted content, so by default, when we first open the email, a rich text block will actually show up as a blank space. So that is the default render. But as we navigate to the edit icon, we add any dummy text. When we cycle back to the preview icon, we are able to see the text we typed in. I don't know if it's something specific going on with your account, but the expectation is to be able to see the content.
Yeah. I think I didn't know if you had run into that. That's so following the same process there. We see it in rich text. We can cycle back to preview by recipient, and it will not display. But if you select the text, you can see that there's text there. If you try to like highlight the text, it will show that there was content there. It just won't actually display what that is. So I wasn't sure if you had run into something like that. Likely something we'll loop in Salesforce support with.
Correct. It unfortunately seems like it's something you're experiencing on your account, something unique to your account. I would recommend following up with the Salesforce case. I've actually been extremely active with Salesforce cases, and even speaking to the product owner of distributed marketing with just feedback, and looking forward to just the additional release notes and what's on the roadmap for distributed marketing in general. So distributed marketing might not have the most focus from Salesforce overall, but ultimately it is on the roadmap. There's more and more organizations that are trying to figure out how to adopt this and actually use this with a business process.
Great news. Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. Thanks, Kevin. Does anybody else have any questions for Coral?
Coral, thanks for a great session. So I was implementing distributed marketing this year, and I do not find any resources at that time. I had hard time finding out some information to work on the challenges that I had during that time, and this session has been really helpful. And talking about one of the issue, not really an issue, but one of the concern expressed by the client. So I implemented the distributed marketing, and then I was handing over everything to the client so they can manage by themselves after. The concern is that most of the things they have to do in the marketing cloud, and only then that it will be available in Salesforce. And also, the journey needs to be created for each email or for each communication that they want to send out from the Salesforce. Is there any way to bypass the creation of the journeys?
And what would be the end result we're trying to achieve if we bypass the journeys? Are we trying to, do you mean and maybe if you just reword the question, I might be able to catch it. But ultimately, I guess I'm trying to understand if we were to remove the step where we're creating additional journeys, is the end result for the customer just to have everything set up from the initial implementation?
Exactly. And so it's like reducing the number of steps that are involved in setting it up. So for each email, if they have to go and create the journeys as well, that's where the concern was, to reduce the number of steps that were involved.
Well, I do want to stress that you are not alone in the experience that you share. Working with different clients in distributed marketing, I have found that the largest gap is actually the adoption process. That's where the gap, and we need to be able to consult and help them develop a business process and even assert a roadmap as to starting off with quick sends as a capability and maybe moving towards having a full content marketplace and using campaign messages. What I would like to stress, though, is that identifying who our users will be is critical. We need to have an understanding of not only who our end users will be, but who is our marketing team that we're championing. We have to spend a lot of time with the marketing team, ensuring that they understand the different steps of how to provision access, how to create journeys. It's just fundamental to distributed marketing, because end of the day, that is what distributed marketing is allowing the marketing team to do. It's saying, hey, you can control all the communications for the org, just you have to do the work to predefine it.
Right, agree. Yeah, most of the responsibility lies on the marketing cloud team, where they have to set up everything. When I compare it to the Salesforce Engage, the version of distributed marketing for Pardot, it's the other way. So as soon as the email is created in Pardot, it can be accessible in Salesforce, but with the distributed marketing, we have this journeys layer in between. So I'm looking if that step can be avoided. Yeah, it seems like that's a mandatory step.
Well, unfortunately, I don't believe we'll be able to remove that step. It is going to come down to just user adoption. I would say that's the power behind it. If we just left it at one-touch messages, then we might be able to facilitate a send from CRM a little bit differently. There's mechanisms through Marketing Cloud Connect to just initiate a send through CRM. The power or what we're inherently doing here is creating that editable experience for our end user, but it's also journey builder and stressing that the marketer can do a lot of complex things in a very simple one-touch journey. After that one email, they may configure a Salesforce task, and that sends a notification of appropriate actions to the end user. They may update values in Marketing Cloud that could trigger another automation. So I would stress that is to definitely explore what all can be done with Journey Builder and building more complex use cases. Because if the use cases aren't a little more complex, then we might be able to achieve the desired functionality through a simple send.
Right. Thanks, Carol.
No worries. Yeah, I'm always happy to chat more about it. I actually have a list of nuances and gotchas from not only setting up distributed marketing journeys, but also just email development of distributed marketing. So yeah, happy to hear more about implementations or challenges and just try to aggregate all that information in one place. So thank you all for hearing me out and your time.
Well, thank you so much, Coral. It was just wonderful. And everybody's a witness that you're already working on 102. Yep, people are saying, thanks, Coral. Great presentation. Thank you so much. And Carlos, if you want to put your email in the chat, I will make sure that you get a copy of it. We're definitely going to upload it. JB will get it uploaded to YouTube for us. Great presentation. Oh, wait, we have another message. I recently started looking into Marketing Cloud and I have no clue what DM was until now. Thanks for educating me. I'm still figuring out the basics of Marketing Cloud, so by no means ready to work on DM as of yet, but would be great to refer to these slides in the future if possible. Great. Yeah, go ahead and put your email in the chat. I don't know how I can email everybody because y'all's emails are hidden from me. but I have collected a few emails already. Oh, JB's got a link up there for us where the YouTube will be. Perfect. Thank you, JB. That's where the link will be. I'm grabbing email addresses here just in case. Everybody else grab that YouTube channel. Okay, and I'm going to stop recording.